nose down a little bit to level off. All right. And the main reason being is because when you got that nose up like that, you know, the main rotor disc is at a higher angle of attack. It's producing more lift. When you lower the nose and level the rotor disc, you're not putting near as much air up through the rotor disc. You're not making near the lift, and the aircraft wants to settle, you know, so. Cape Girardeau traffic, got up 2-1, Tango Bravo, midfield, left downwind, runway 2, Cape Girardeau traffic. It's a good looking sunset out there. That's pretty cool. And carb heat looks good. And we just kind of level off here. We're pretty good. We're almost 800 off the ground there. So, you know, when you raise the collective, that lowers your RPM. When you lower the collective, that raises your RPM. And then on the nose, you know, when you flare, that's going to drive your RPM up. When you lower the nose a little bit, it's going to lower the, you know, it tends to lower the RPM. That's why we don't make any big rapid, you know, flaring or dumping the nose, because your blade excursion is doing this number if you do that. So you try to just keep the aircraft relatively level, you know. All right, now just kind of level it off here. All right, whenever you're ready. All righty. 3, 2, 1. All right, all the way down, roll off, back up. Good. Check up at just a 1/16 of an inch. There you go. And then just kind of wait on it. Okay, RPMs are right at 100%. That looks good. Airspeed looks good. Now, looking out the window. There you go. Start a wimpy flare. Flare it a little more. Got to flare enough that it kind of levels you off. Now up with the collective. Pedal, and then you kind of come down with the nose there. Okay. There you go. So yeah, that flare, you got to flare enough so that you kind of level off and you're floating down the runway. If you don't have enough flare, it'll, you know, the nose will come up, but it's not going to, you know, it's going to want to tend to drift to a lower altitude. You're on the risk of hitting your tail, you know. So you have to flare, you know, you just kind of flare and flare into it, and then when you're about like that, you're pretty much floating, you know, but you need enough of a nose-up attitude so that you're gliding down the runway and you kind of level off. And then as you lose energy, both in rotor RPM and airspeed, then the aircraft starts to settle. And then that's when you're going to come up with your collective, keeping the nose up with the collective, then down with the nose to level off. So, all right, it's all about energy management. Get some new door seals on it. Things whistle like all get out, man. I think it's my door over here. I think it's this one. Yeah, I don't know. Seems like right up here it's whistling. In fact, if I put it out of trim, let's see something here. Yep, see it quit whistling? Yep. I think it's this door right here. If I do it this way, it's going to get worse. Yep, it get louder. Cape Girardeau traffic, I got to go 2-1, Tango Bravo, midfield, left downwind, runway 2, Cape Girardeau traffic. All right, you go and level off about here, be good. Yeah, I'll have to get me some part of that door seal and beef it up a little bit there, and then whistle is bad. All right, airspeed looks good, right at 70, 75. Just go ahead and count it out, man. 3, 2, 1. Up a little bit with that collective. Check up. I'll help it roll down. Lower the nose a teeny bit, just a preserve that speed. We don't want to get any slower. There we go. That looks fine. Looking out the window now. Start your flare. Flare a little more. Up with the collective. Yeah, we kind of got a little low on that. I'll help you a little bit on that. I don't want to drag the tail there. Okay, so what you don't want to do is get too low and then have to flare a bunch like that. So you start up a little bit higher and just kind of flare into it like that. It works out a lot better, and you don't, drive up the rotor RPM a bunch. So, all right, try it again.
We're trying to keep our speed somewhere between 65, 75-ish.
Yeah, climb out, starting your climb at about 55 or so, and then I let the speed come up to a good 60 to 65. I mean, that's because if it quits, you can get it on the ground so much easier. What you don't want to do is climb out at 30 or 35. Now, a lot of times we have to climb out at 25 or 35 over a tree or whatever. But if it's open area like this, man, just get your speed up a little bit. It's so much easier to be able to auto it if you keep your speed towards the high side, somewhere close to at least a good 55, 60.
Right.
Not like 70, even better. When you get less than 50, you're getting pretty slow, and the amount of kinetic energy you have, you can still pull it off, but it's so much, the timing's much more critical. And, you could be half asleep and auto one in at 70, So, but you start getting down 50 or even 45, and the amount of flare at the bottom has to be much more aggressive. And then you got to get your skids back down before you actually touch the ground.
Right.
And the timing is just a lot more critical, and it's very easy to tear one of these up if you're having a bad day, So. Cape Girardeau traffic, 201 Tango Bravo, midfield left downwind, runway 2, Cape Girardeau traffic. So, on your climb out, you try to keep, and then once you're a couple hundred feet away from the ground, if you wanted to climb out at a slower speed, then that's probably, less of a risk, because you can always turn that altitude into airspeed, So, but anyway, when you're, like I said, I try to keep my speed a little bit towards the high side on the climb outs just because I'm paranoid and old,
Right.